So Scump announced that he will be retiring at the end of this year. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock and you haven't seen any of the news lately, Scump made a video, actually 2 videos, one being like a trailer, which was really dope. You guys should check that out. And then the other one being his explanation on why he is retiring. It was a tough day. I'll be honest, it was a tough day for me. I'm a grown ass man, and seeing that video, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. Now, I mean, I was a professional gamer in Halo and Call of Duty for a long part of my life so far. I was competing when Scump was competing. I was competing, I think, before Scump was competing. So I've known all about him. Even before I got into the Call of Duty scene, I knew who Scump was, okay? I knew him when he was on Leverage, before he was on Optic, before he really blew up as a complete superstar. When we talk about like actual skill, actual talent, and then having a personality and growing a brand behind it. So I've known Seth for a long time. And Seth is just one of those guys that you just don't think he's ever gonna retire, you know? Like, he's like the Tom Brady of Call of Duty. Now, Seth obviously is still very talented. He's a very good player. He can still win championships. And I'm not hating on his decision, because everyone has to make that decision, right? You get to a certain point in your life. He just recently got engaged. He announced that as well in the past week. But you get to a point where you have different priorities, right? You have different passions. Life is just different. You're not a kid anymore. So I get it. I mean, I did the same thing. But it's like, it's a tough spot for me to be in, because while I'm excited to see what he does next, obviously he's going to kill it in content. Like I said, he's a superstar. He's the face of the league. I'm also worried about how the Call of Duty League is going to perform after he's gone. Like, if we're being honest, many of you guys watching this video will probably say like you got into Call of Duty because of Scump, or you became a fan of him and he is your favorite player, right? You've been watching him since 2010 or whenever he started competing. I know he's been competing for over a decade. Okay, he's one of the greatest Call of Duty players of all time. And he carries a lot of Call of Duty on his back. Let's be honest, him and the Optic brand do. So when he does retire at the end of this year, I thought it was awesome, by the way, that he decided he was going to do like the one last dance. Everyone knows, so there's no speculation. He will be retiring after. But I'm worried about what's going to happen in the future, right? Because we know how much pull Scump has, how much pull Optic has. And obviously, you know, you have a Shotzi who's been absolutely killing the game, and he could be next up in when it comes to having that personality and taking over that face of the league. But I'm worried that when Scump retires, there could be a chance that Hector and Optic just don't think it's worth to be in Call of Duty anymore. Maybe there's better options to invest their money in than COD, because they don't have Scump on their team playing COD anymore. And I don't want to seem like I'm overreacting, but it's just something that a lot of the pros, a lot of the community in general has just been talking about for years now, because people have always been wondering when Scump's going to retire, right? When Crim's going to retire, when Clay's going to retire. That era of Call of Duty is coming to an end. That is the era that so many Call of Duty fans fell in love with, right? Those players, that's when they really fell in love with COD. From the Clays, the Scumps, the Nade Shots, the Crims, the list goes on. But I'm worried that the viewership will take a massive hit, right? Even if Optic decides to stay, the viewership will take a massive hit when Scump isn't there. If Optic does decide, right, if they do kind of make that blockbuster move where they're like, oh, Scump's gone, we're going to sell our spot, we don't want to be in Call of Duty anymore. That could be like the dagger for the CDL, in my opinion, because while there's a lot of new pros, there's a new generation of players that are coming up, none of them really have captured their true personality, right? No one has really grown into this superstar player, right? And when you're a superstar, it's not just because of your skill, it's because of your personality, right? You can be very polarizing. You're popular. You're popular amongst the fans, amongst the viewers, and whatever you do. And yeah, like I said, Shotzi could be next up, but there just isn't as many players as there was when Call of Duty really started to blow up in the late 2010s, you know. So it could be crazy. Like, I don't know if maybe it takes such a hit that the CDL realizes like, this league is probably just going to burn to the ground anyways, so let's not invest in it. Let's maybe focus our attention on Warzone 2, on making Warzone like the competitive league, which has been in the talks for a long time now. And it would suck to see, because I know a lot of these players. I obviously love competitive Call of Duty, and I don't want to see them be put in that spot, even though I could definitely see the CDL going to a professional Warzone league, especially when Scump retires. So I know a lot of these players, they have to be kind of nervous that are still competing for the end of this year, because you don't really know what's going to happen. You have to hope that Modern Warfare 2 is a serviceable game. Okay, that's the biggest issue, because you're going to be playing it for 2 years competitively. And if it's not, you already know Scump's going to retire at the end of this year. So it's like, what's your next move? What's your next step? Because like I said, a lot of these guys haven't really grown their brand. I mean, no one has really grown their brand like Scump has, let's be honest here, but they haven't really actively tried to grow their brand. And now the pillars of what made this community, Nadeshot, Crim, Scump, Hector, Optic, these guys are leaving the competitive side of things. Obviously, they're still going to be around doing content, or maybe taking a role like Rambo Ray, right? Or Crowder, being a coach, being a general manager for the league. But those pillars are now gone. Okay, so it can be scary, because you might not know what your next move is. You don't know what your future holds for you. So that's what worries me the most about Scump retiring. Obviously, he shouldn't feel any type of way. You know, it's not on him to single-handedly carry the COD League. And it's like, oh, if I decide to retire, then the league's is done and over. Like, that's too much pressure on one person. And so it shouldn't be like that. And I don't think it's like that. And I hope it doesn't get to that point, right? I hope Scump retires, man. He's happy. He goes into content. He's obviously going to stay in Call of Duty, he said. But I hope Optic stays, right? And Shotzzy blows up, and other pros in this new era of Call of Duty really start to show their personality, really start to connect with the fans, the viewers, that cheer for him every event, right? I want that to happen, but it's been tough because there just isn't that consistency like there was in the past eras of Call of Duty, right? When it comes to creating your brand, and it may be too late. So while I think that Scump retiring is great because he deserves it, man, he's been killing the game for so long, and it's a very stressful job. A lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, you just get to play video games for a living. Like, how blessed are you? Like, I wish I could do that. It is a very stressful job, especially when you've been doing it as long as someone like Scump has. But at the same time, I'm just going to keep reiterating it. I'm very worried that this could be the beginning of the end for competitive Call of Duty. Truly am. And I could definitely see the CDL investing more into Warzone 2, into the Battle Royale, because that's where the viewership is, right? That's where all the big time players, that's where they're at. They're not playing multiplayer COD. They may be playing it right now because it just dropped. But once Warzone 2 drops, that's where most of the viewership is going to be going, especially if someone like Scump transitions over and he starts streaming Warzone 2 all the time. When he retires, he starts playing in these Warzone tournaments, and so it could just put a lot of people at risk for losing their job, essentially. Which, esports, professional gaming, however you want to coin it, it's a very volatile place for sure. 1 year everything could be great. You could be making a shit ton of money. You could be on the top of the world, right? Next year you could be chopped liver. You're not on a team. You don't have any guaranteed income. You go from making six figures to nothing, or just like a couple thousand here and there. It's happened. It's happened to a lot of people, and it's going to continue to happen. That's just how life works. But it makes me nervous. It makes me nervous. I don't know what you guys think, if you think that I'm overreacting, but I think what I'm saying definitely has some substance to it. I think it is a realistic possibility that the league could be in a very bad spot. But with that being said, I don't want to take away from the fact that Scump, literally one of the greatest players of all time when we talk about Call of Duty GOATs, is retiring. You have to celebrate an unbelievable career out of him for as long as he's been doing it, for as successful as he's been. So this year, this Modern Warfare 2 year, obviously, I know if you're an Optic fan, you want Optic to win every event, right? Regardless, but I really hope people genuinely appreciate what Scump has done, not only in the game, right, in Call of Duty, but what he's done for the scene itself, because it's gonna be a huge blow. It's gonna be a big moment when he does retire, and I don't know. I gotta know what you guys think. If you think that I'm tripping, let me know. But it's gonna be a crazy time when this actually happens.